What if I told you that a 21-year-old kid, fresh out of college, never played a single NFL snap, walked into the league, and within 1 year has secured over $200 million? Not a quarterback, not a generational running back, a wide receiver.
And going deep into the end zone and caught by Chase! Oh my goodness, what a grab!
A position that historically gets disrespected at the negotiating table more than almost any other in professional football. This is the story of Ja'Marr Chase, the man who didn't just rewrite the rookie record books, he rewrote the entire financial landscape of his position. And the wildest part, the path he took to get there almost never happened at all. Ja'Marr Chase grew up in Harvey, Louisiana, a small city just south of New Orleans that doesn't exactly have a reputation for producing generational NFL talent. Harvey sits right on the edge of Jefferson Parish, the kind of place where Friday night lights hit different because for a lot of kids, football isn't just a sport, it's a way out. From the moment Chase could get his hands on a football, it was obvious something was different. He wasn't just fast, he wasn't just physical. He had Phil, that rare, almost unteachable ability to understand where a ball was going to be before it got there. His mother Trimetria and his father Tommy watched their son turn every backyard, every park, every cracked concrete surface into a training ground. By the time he reached Archbishop Rummel High School in Metairie, Louisiana, Chase wasn't just a prospect. He was the prospect, the kind of player that opposing coaches would draw up entire defensive schemes just to slow down. And even then, it rarely worked. When Ja'Marr Chase committed to LSU, it felt like destiny. The Tigers were quietly assembling something special in Baton Rouge, and Chase was going to be right in the middle of it. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted what 2019 was going to look like. That season, LSU ran through college football like a freight train with no brakes. Quarterback Joe Burrow was dissecting defenses with surgical precision, and Chase was his favorite instrument. The two of them developed a connection that looked less like a college quarterback-receiver duo and more like something you see on an NFL highlight reel. Chase finished that season with 84 catches, 1,780 yards, and 20 touchdowns. Numbers so absurd that people genuinely had to double-check them.
With at least 5 touchdowns in the team's first 4 games, to the air again, and this is Ja'Marr Chase. He's in a chase, and he will take it all the way.
He won the Biletnikoff Award given annually to the best wide receiver in college football, and LSU won the national championship. It was one of the greatest individual offensive seasons in the history of college football, full stop. At 19 years old, Ja'Marr Chase had already touched the ceiling of what college football had to offer. So what do you do when you've done everything there is to do? Most people would declare for the NFL draft immediately and cash in. And honestly, who could blame them? But Chase made a decision that shocked the entire football world. In 2020, with the world turned upside down by the COVID-19 pandemic, Ja'Marr Chase opted out of his sophomore season entirely. Let that sink in. The most electrifying receiver in college football, coming off arguably the greatest single season a wideout has ever had, chose to sit out a full year of football. No games, no catches, no touchdowns. The criticism came fast and it came loud. NFL scouts started raising eyebrows. Draft analysts began asking uncomfortable questions. Does he still have it? Will a year away rust his routes? Can he really just step away and come back like nothing happened? Some draft boards started quietly sliding his name down. The consensus began to shift. Maybe Chase had made a massive mistake. 12 months without live football at the highest level of his life. 12 months of watching from the sideline while the sport moved on without him. For a competitor wide the way Ja'Marr Chase is wide, that had to sting in ways that are hard to put into words. And the worst part, he wouldn't know if the gamble paid off until he stepped back on that field. Here's what most people missed about that opt-out year. Chase didn't disappear, he prepared. While the world assumed he was sitting at home letting his skills decay, Chase was working, training, studying film, getting his body right. He understood something that a lot of young players miss entirely. The NFL game is faster, more physical, and more mentally complex than anything college football throws at you. So if he was going to use that year off, he was going to use it to become something more than what he already was. He came back to LSU for his junior season in 2021 with one mission: remind the world exactly who Ja'Marr Chase was. He delivered. 65 catches, 1,473 yards, 8 touchdowns. The routes were crisper. The hands were elite. The football IQ was on a completely different level. The rust, it never showed up. When the 2022 NFL Draft arrived, Chase was once again the most talked about receiver in the class. And then came the moment that would set the entire trajectory of his professional life. The Cincinnati Bengals selected him 5th overall, and waiting for him in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, the same quarterback he terrorized defenses with at LSU. The same timing, the same trust, the same chemistry, now at the highest level of professional football. It was like the universe had conspired to put these two back together, and the NFL had no idea what was about to hit it. Chase's rookie season in Cincinnati wasn't just impressive, it was historically, embarrassingly, unfairly good. He finished with 81 catches, 1,455 receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns.
A lot of noise. Good blocking on the screws. Chase found the... Oh, there he goes! He had him in a blender and he's off to the races. This will be 6. What a play! 82 yards!
Numbers that don't just lead all rookies, they stack up against the best seasons any receiver has ever had at any point in their career. He won the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year award. He was named to the Pro Bowl. He put up a 266-yard performance against the Kansas City Chiefs that reminded everyone watching that they were seeing something rare. But here's the thing that gets overlooked in all those stats. The Bengals won. They went 1-0-7, made the playoffs, and then went on a run that had the entire football world locked in. Cincinnati, a franchise that had been a punchline for years, a team that hadn't won a playoff game since 1991, suddenly had the league's most exciting offense, and Jamar Chase was the engine driving it. They made it all the way to Super Bowl LVI. Think about what that means. As a rookie, in his first year, Jamar Chase went to the Super Bowl. The kid from Harvey, Louisiana, who sat out an entire year of football and had people questioning his future, was now one of the most important players on one of the best teams in the NFL. On the biggest stage the sport has, now let's talk about the number that's in the title, because this is where the story gets really interesting. After their rookie season, Chase's contract situation became one of the most watched negotiating sagas in recent NFL history. See, wide receivers have historically been underpaid relative to their impact on an offense. Quarterbacks get the mega deals, pass rushers clean up, but wideouts, they've always had to fight harder for every dollar. Chase changed that conversation permanently. Going into 2024, with his rookie contract winding down and his leverage at an all-time high, the Bengals and Chase's camp began working toward a new deal. What happened next sent shockwaves through every agent, general manager, and player in the league. Jamar Chase signed a 4-year extension worth $140 million, with $87.5 million guaranteed. At the time, it made him one of the highest paid non-quarterback players in the entire NFL. But the total value of his contract, when you factor in the remaining year of his rookie deal, pushed the full picture well past the $200 million threshold that his representatives had been targeting. $200 million for a wide receiver. In a league that has spent decades telling that position group to wait their turn. But the number didn't come out of nowhere. It was built on performance. Chase had continued to produce at an elite level in his second and third seasons, even as the Bengals dealt with injuries and inconsistency around him. He'd shown that his rookie year wasn't a fluke, it was a floor. And here's the detail that most people don't fully appreciate. Chase understood his value in a way that young players almost never do. He wasn't just negotiating based on what he'd done, he was negotiating based on what he represented for every receiver who'd come after him. That $200 million number wasn't just about Jamar Chase. It was a statement, it was leverage for every elite receiver who would sit across the negotiating table from a general manager for the next decade. Chase didn't just get paid, he shifted the market. But money has a way of changing things. Suddenly, when you're making $200 million, every drop, every quiet game, every loss becomes a referendum on whether you're worth it. There were games where he was doubled, tripled, schemed against in ways that college football could never have prepared him for. Critics who never watched a full snap of tape started questioning whether the contract was justified. But that's what separates generational players from good ones. Chase kept showing up, kept working, kept doing the thing he'd done since those Harvey, Louisiana backyards, competing like everything was on the line, because to him, it always was. At an age when most people are still figuring out what they want to do with their lives, Chase has already redefined what's possible for a wide receiver in the NFL, both on the field and off it. He stacked Pro Bowls, shattered rookie records that had stood for decades, and forced an entire league to rethink how it values the position he plays. The 200 million isn't just a number. It's the scoreboard of a journey that started in a small Louisiana city, survived a pandemic opt-out that had everyone counting him out, and culminated in one of the most dominant rookie seasons professional football has ever seen. Think about the full picture for a second. A kid from Harvey sits out a full year, gets drafted by the team his college quarterback plays for, goes to the Super Bowl as a rookie, then turns around and restructures the financial reality of his entire position. You couldn't write that script if you tried. So if you told that kid sitting in Harvey, Louisiana, dreaming about one day playing under the lights, that he'd be standing on an NFL field at 21 years old with a Super Bowl appearance and $200 million to his name, he probably would have smiled, nodded, and gotten back to work. Because for Jamar Chase, that was never a stop sign, it was always just fuel. And the road he's on, it's only getting started.